Have you ever felt it? That gut-wrenching ache when someone's words cut deeper than they should. That suffocating silence after a rejection, or the cold shock of betrayal. Perhaps you've longed to be that person who seems utterly unshakable, someone impervious to criticism, a fortress against loss. You dream of a day when the silent pain, that gnawing anguish that consumes you from the inside, finally dissipates, even as you plaster on a brave face for the world. Maybe you're exhausted from constantly trying to please everyone, from upholding an image of relentless strength when deep down, all you crave is a moment's rest from the crushing pressure of being untouchable. You push, you strive, you endure, all in the hopes that if you're good enough, strong enough, well-adjusted enough, you'll finally be safe from the wounds life inflicts. But let me share a truth that most people shy away from, a truth that might sting at first, but ultimately has the power to set you free. As long as you desperately try to avoid pain, it will continue to control you. Think about it. Every attempt to numb yourself, to hide, to protect your fragile core, only makes you a hostage. A hostage to every harsh word, every disappointing action, every agonizing silence. This isn't a sign of weakness. This is the quiet reality for the vast majority of us. The only difference is, some are just better at pretending than others. The illusion of control. What really hurts you? The renowned depth psychologist Carl Jung once profoundly stated, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become." And that, my friend, is where the true key lies. This journey isn't about building impenetrable walls around your heart, or transforming into a cold, indifferent, or emotionally detached being. On the contrary, it's about integration. It's about consciously bringing to light everything that currently affects you in the dark, in the hidden corners of your psyche, because genuine strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the profound, full awareness of who you are, even when you're bleeding, even when you're broken. If you've found yourself nodding along, if you felt a flicker of recognition in these words, then know this: you're not here by chance. This message is for you. It's for the part of you that's weary of being hurt by everyone and everything. It's for the feeling that you're always at an emotional disadvantage, as if other people hold a mysterious power over you that you just can't grasp. I want to show you that it doesn't have to be this way. But to get there, you'll have to bravely face some truths that might initially hurt. And ironically, for the very first time, this pain will be your path to freedom. Are you ready to begin? You might believe that the source of your suffering lies out there, in the careless actions of others, in poorly chosen words, in the painful abandonments you've endured, or in the betrayals that blindsided you. But here's the brutal truth, one that can be deeply uncomfortable to accept. None of these external events truly have the power to hurt you unless there's already an open wound inside you. What hurts you isn't merely what others do to you. It's what these experiences activate within you. It's the old story you've been telling yourself about your worth, the unhealed trauma that has festered for years, the deep emptiness you desperately try to disguise with a veneer of strength, pride, or that exhausting need to always appear well-adjusted. Jung showed us that the pain we experience from the external world is often just a reflection, a mirror showing us what has not yet been integrated into our internal world. This is precisely why some individuals can navigate devastating situations with incredible clarity and resilience, while others crumble in the face of a seemingly simple comment. It's not about what happens. It's about where it hits you internally. And here comes another uncomfortable truth. You continue to suffer so profoundly because, on some hidden level, you still cling to the belief that you can control how the world should treat you. You're still striving to be good enough, smart enough, strong enough, understanding enough, as if these qualities will magically guarantee that no one will ever hurt you. But control, especially over others, is a grand illusion. And as long as you desperately cling to it, you will live in constant tension, perpetually trying to predict the unpredictable, desperately trying to avoid the inevitable. Do you genuinely want to stop suffering? Then, paradoxically, stop protecting yourself from suffering. What you truly need isn't more control. It's more awareness. As long as you believe that other people need to change for you to stop feeling pain, you will remain enslaved by their actions, their moods, their choices. Your freedom truly begins the moment you understand that everything that comes from outside only holds power if it finds an echo, a resonance, a vulnerability within you. And this, my friend, is exactly where the true battlefield lies, the unconscious. Diving into the unconscious, the true battlefield, what you do not see, do not understand, and do not master, will inevitably master you. And this is precisely where we must dive one level deeper, because this is where genuine transformation begins. Are you ready to uncover the hidden forces within? The biggest lie you've ever been told, perhaps even by yourself, is that you are completely in control of your life. Wake up, because you're not. Not as long as you continue living on autopilot, reacting to situations without truly knowing why, feeling emotions without understanding their origin, and making decisions that you later inexplicably sabotage. Carl Jung made this absolutely clear when he stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that, in its essence, is what's happening to you right now. The sharp sting of pain you feel, the anger that explodes seemingly out of nowhere, the profound sadness that invades you without explanation, none of this is random. These are all urgent messages, urgent signals coming from forgotten, ignored, or deeply repressed parts of yourself. Jung referred to this vast, often dark territory as the unconscious. And it's far more than just a vague cloud of thoughts. It is an active living force. It's an entire system of buried memories, unhealed traumas, unacknowledged desires, and pervasive fears that you desperately don't want to face, but which relentlessly continue to dictate what you feel and how you act. You might wonder why certain words utterly devastate you, while others seem completely unaffected by the same comments. It's because those words touch sensitive, still living points within your unconscious mind. And if they are still alive, it's because you have never truly confronted them. You've only ever pushed them under the psychological rug, and now you keep tripping over them, again and again. Jung powerfully articulated this when he said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." And what have you been doing? Judging yourself, repressing your feelings, silencing your authentic voice, as if that would somehow solve anything. The chilling truth is that the unconscious doesn't just disappear because you choose to ignore it. It merely finds more cunning, and often more dangerous ways to manifest itself. It shows up in toxic relationships that you repeat like a broken record, in patterns of self-sabotage that you feel utterly powerless to break, in the sudden anxieties and unexplained fears that arise precisely when everything in your life seems to be going well. This isn't simply bad luck. This is your unconscious, desperately trying to wake you up, but you stubbornly insist on sleeping. Do you truly want to become someone who is no longer hurt? Then you must stop running away from what resides inside you. Because as long as you do not truly know your unconscious, you will remain a puppet of your emotions, a victim of unseen strings. And here's the bitter irony. The more you try to protect yourself from external pain, the more exquisitely vulnerable you become to the internal hidden pain. But there is, unequivocally, a way out. And it's not in defending yourself from the world. It's in integrating yourself. Because becoming unshackable isn't an act of resistance. It's an act of profound self-knowledge. This is what we will explore next, what it truly means to be someone who is unaffected by life's blows, and why this deep, enduring strength doesn't come from armor, but from radical self-acceptance. Let's continue this journey, the myth of armor, true strength through integration. Most people hold a deeply ingrained belief that the only way to avoid getting hurt is by closing themselves off. They diligently construct towering walls, don elaborate masks, develop layers of emotional armor, and painstakingly pretend that absolutely nothing affects them. You hear them say, "I don't care anymore," or "I couldn't care less," or "nothing gets to me." Yet, beneath that carefully constructed facade, they continue to bleed. They continue to corrode from the inside out. Because the fundamental problem was never about feeling emotions. The problem is not knowing what you are truly feeling, and more critically, why. And this agonizing disconnect only plagues those who do not yet truly know themselves. Jung was remarkably precise in his wisdom. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when touching the human soul, be just another human soul. And that human soul, your own human soul, the one you relentlessly insist on hiding behind a strong, invulnerable, perfectly controlled character, is screaming to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be finally set free. Becoming emotionally robust has absolutely nothing to do with being cold or callous. It has nothing to do with ignoring your pain, avoiding necessary conflict, or pretending not to care about the people and events in your life. Instead, it has everything to do with integration. It's about bravely accepting, about consciously bringing to light every single thing you have buried in the dark, in the hidden recesses of your being. You don't become unshakable by creating a rigid barrier between yourself and the world. You become truly untouchable when you realize that no one can touch what has already been embraced within you. When you courageously integrate your shadows, your deepest fears, your perceived flaws, your gnawing insecurities, you stop simply reacting to everything that happens around you. Instead, you begin to observe, and then you consciously choose your response. You are no longer an emotional puppet, yanked by invisible strings. And that, my friend, is the essence of true freedom. Jung called this transformative process individuation. The profound journey of becoming who you genuinely are. Not what others expect of you, not what you once thought you should be to gain acceptance, but what authentically emerges from within you, from the powerful meeting of light and shadow, between your ego and your vast unconscious. Individuation, Jung clarified, is not a process of perfection, but a process of integration. You don't need to become a better person in the conventional sense. You simply need to become whole. And here lies the most liberating secret that perhaps no one has ever told you. The more you run from pain, the more relentlessly it chases you. The more you try not to be affected, the more fragile and easily wounded you become. But when you bravely face your own wounds, when you accept who you are with all that is beautiful and all that is perceived as ugly, all that is noble and all that is shameful, then nothing outside of you has the power to dismantle you. This path, however, demands immense courage. Courage to look deeply within, courage to abandon the familiar masks, courage to truly feel. Because it is precisely within the crucible of pain that the key to your transformation is hidden. And that's what we will now discover in the next part. How suffering, far from being an enemy, can become the powerful gateway to your true, unyielding strength. Let's dive deeper, and this time, without fear, suffering as a sacred guide. The path to liberation. From childhood, you were likely taught to despise pain. You absorbed the lesson that suffering is a sign of weakness, that crying is a pointless waste of time, that feeling too much simply makes you vulnerable. And so, you began to run from it, to avoid it at all costs, to deny its very existence. But the more you flee from suffering, the more relentlessly it pursues you. And the worst part, it cleverly changes form. It disguises itself as crippling anxiety, sudden bursts of anger, pervasive apathy, soul-numbing boredom, or even inexplicable self-destructive impulses that you don't even understand. Unacknowledged pain doesn't just disappear. It silently, digs tunnels deep inside you until one day, without warning, everything collapses. Jung viewed suffering in a radically different light. He believed that pain was the urgent messenger of the soul, the blaring alarm of the unconscious, the very language that the self, your complete and authentic being, uses to desperately get your attention. He famously said, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't push her away. Invite her to sit down, offer her a coffee, and listen to what she has to say." But how often do we truly listen? You silence yourself, you distract yourself, you keep yourself endlessly busy, you numb yourself with countless diversions. You do everything imaginable to avoid looking at what truly matters. What is this pain trying, so urgently, to show you? The truth is that suffering only hurts so much because you are still fundamentally at war with yourself. There's still a powerful part of you yearning to grow, to evolve, to transform, and another part desperately wanting to keep everything exactly as it is, safe and familiar. There's something deep inside you that cries out for profound transformation. But your ego, accustomed to its illusion of control, tries to suffocate that vital call. And it is in this internal friction, this relentless resistance, that pain is born. Because change hurts, growth hurts. Letting go of old, limiting beliefs hurts. Cutting toxic ties hurts. Allowing what no longer serves you to die, to fall away. All of this is a form of mourning, an internal process of death and rebirth. But it is precisely in this sacred space of ruin, when everything within you feels deconstructed, when your certainties crumble, when pain lays bare your raw vulnerability, that you can finally begin to see who you truly are. Without the protective layers, without the performance, without the mask. And at that exact pivotal point, suffering becomes sacred. It brings you to your knees before the only thing that can truly set you free, yourself. Jung understood this with profound clarity. He knew that suffering is not a failure of the system. It is an inherent, essential part of the process. Pain is not the end of the road. It is the powerful beginning of the journey towards individuation. The problem is that most people give up before they cross that dark, challenging valley. They flee, they distract themselves, they return to the superficial comforts of the surface. But not you. If you've made it this far, it's because you are ready to cross. And in the next crucial part, we will understand exactly how this crossing process happens, and how the path of individuation, no matter how lonely or brutal it may sometimes seem, is what finally liberates you. Let's continue. It's getting even deeper now. The courage of individuation. Your ultimate liberation. Few people possess the raw courage to even begin the arduous journey of individuation, and fewer still have the tenacity to complete it. Because this path offers no easy comforts, provides no guarantees, and most importantly, it offers no protection for your ego. In fact, it actively seeks to dismantle it. Jung referred to individuation as the process of becoming who you truly are. But this means, above all, unlearning what you think you are. And that, paradoxically, hurts more than any external rejection could. Because you slowly begin to realize that much of what defined you until now was merely an illusion, a temporary construct. You are not just your achievements. You are not defined solely by your traumas. You are not simply the image you painstakingly constructed to be loved, respected, or admired. All of this was what you created, consciously or unconsciously, simply to survive. But merely surviving is not truly living. And individuation is life's most profound call, a summons beyond mere survival. It is the moment when the unconscious, that vast inner ocean, begins to relentlessly push everything that has been repressed, hidden, and distorted to the surface. Individuation requires the dissolution of the persona, Jung wrote, for it is merely a mask of collective convenience. In other words, to find your authentic self, you will need to bravely tear off your own skin, layer by layer, to discover the raw, beautiful truth that lies beneath. It is in this deeply transformative, often painful, process that you begin to become truly unshakable. Not because nothing affects you anymore, but because you have already walked through the fire. You have faced your internal monsters. You have looked directly into the eyes of your shame, your profound neediness, your festering anger, and you have declared, "I see you, and you no longer control me." It is this profound internal clarity, this unwavering lucidity in the face of your own darkness, that bestows upon you a strength that does not depend on external approval, fleeting recognition, or the illusion of control. You no longer need to be universally loved. You no longer need to win every single argument. You no longer need to constantly appear strong to others, because you now truly know who you are at your core, and no one, absolutely no one, can ever take that away from you. True emotional armor is not an impenetrable shell. It is a resilient core. It is the courageous integration of all your disparate parts into a unified center of consciousness that remains unshaken, utterly stable in the face of life's most violent storms. You may still feel pain, it's part of the human experience, but it will no longer break you. You may be hurt, but you will no longer lose yourself in the process, because you have bravely stopped being reactive and you have become whole. You have stopped merely existing on the shallow surface, and you have courageously begun to inhabit the boundless depths of your own being. However, this profound depth often comes at a price: loneliness. Not because you will literally be alone, but because very few people possess the courage or the willingness to accompany you on this extraordinary journey. Most are still trapped on the surface, clinging to their masks, paralyzed by the fear of truly feeling. And when you begin to bravely free yourself, you inevitably distance yourself from those who are still unwilling to face their own depths. But this distancing isn't a rejection. It is a natural maturation. You don't distance yourself out of pride. You distance yourself because you no longer fit where you once hid. And this brings us, finally, to the culmination of this profound journey: consciousness as a shield. Because it is not brute strength that protects you from the world's harshness. It is profound clarity. This is what we will conclude with in this last vital part. Consciousness as the only state in which absolutely nothing, no external event, no harsh word, no disappointment, has any power over you. Let's finish this crossing together. We are almost there. Consciousness, the ultimate shield. Now that you've courageously made it this far, there is one final, crucial truth that needs to be stated with absolute clarity. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will truly shield you from external suffering if you remain unconscious of what happens within you. The biting words will continue to hurt. The sting of rejection will persist. The crushing weight of loss will keep bringing you down until you finally awaken. And true awakening isn't a magical one-time event. It is a deliberate, courageous daily choice. It is choosing to look within, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it hurts. It is taking radical responsibility for everything you feel, without casting blame on others, on your past, or on some arbitrary twist of fate. Carl Jung famously declared, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." You have spent a lifetime resisting. The gnawing fear of not being enough, the desolate emptiness of rejection, the sharp pain of loneliness, the suffocating anguish of not feeling seen or understood. But what has all that resistance brought? You hid. You silenced your truth. You desperately tried to control everything around you. You strove for impossible perfection. You struggled to be strong. And all of this has led you here, to this moment, exhausted, weary of fighting against the world, and most profoundly, weary of fighting against yourself. But now, you know. True emotional immunity is not hardness. It is profound clarity. It's not about forging an impenetrable armor. It's about bravely expanding your awareness. Because when you truly understand your triggers, when you identify your deeply ingrained patterns, when you lovingly acknowledge your unhealed wounds, then the actions of others finally lose their destructive power over you. You will still feel profoundly, perhaps more so than ever before, but you won't drown in those feelings. You will still experience suffering, for it is an inherent part of the human experience, but you will no longer lose yourself within it. And that, my friend, changes absolutely everything. What truly shields you isn't protecting yourself from life's currents. It is courageously diving into its depths. Those who merely exist on the surface get buffeted and hurt by every single wave, but those who dare to dive know that in the profound depths, there's an inherent silence, an unshakable stability, and an incredible power that the surface can never offer. And that, dear friend, is precisely where you are now headed. And when you begin to live from that place of deep integration, conscious presence, and radical acceptance, the world may try to knock you down, but it will no longer find where to hit you. It will find no open wounds, no hidden fears, no unacknowledged shadows to exploit. If this message resonated with you, if something profound within you has awakened, please take a moment. Right here in the comments, I choose awareness. Let's spark a movement of people who no longer wish to merely survive by pretending to be strong, but who dare to live with truth, with authenticity, and with a strength that truly comes from within. And remember, the next step on this journey is just as vital. Keep going. Real transformation only truly begins when you don't stop at the first step. I'll meet you there.